Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we are wrapping up all of the books I read in June. Because June is Pride Month, I decided to post my June wrap-up on Instagram in rainbow order, and I decided I might as well live into the theme. I'm wearing a rainbow outfit, and we are going to talk about these books in rainbow order. I go white, pink, Roy G. Biv, and then like gray, brown, black. So that's my interpretation of rainbow order. If you are interested in any stats, here they are. I was super pleased with a 4.13 average rating. It was a really good reading month. Found some favorites, and yeah, it was a good month. So let's start with the whites. The first book, well, the spine is white, but the cover not so much. This is Every Soul a Star by Wendy Mass. This was drawn out of my Read It or Not jar in June, and so I talk about this one way more in depth in that video. I will link it up above. This one is about three teenagers who meet at a solar eclipse event. One of them lives at the camp where the solar eclipse party is happening, and two of them are attending the solar eclipse. Well, kind of. One is moving there, another is attending. And it is just how their lives connect and really focusing on what is important in life. In their case, mostly it's family and who you are with, not so much where you are. Really beautiful and also fun because a solar eclipse just happened in the US, and so yeah, kind of fun to have these juxtaposed, the event here and then the event in the book. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It definitely is written for a younger audience. I have found that YA is really not the category of books that I want to be reading right now. Just, I don't know. Doesn't quite fit for me. I love middle grade and I love adult, but for some reason YA isn't working. So I don't know, but that is Every Soul a Star. Then another very white book, and the spine is white too. This is Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. I also drew this one in my Read It or Not challenge. This is a nonfiction where Aziz and another gentleman, what's his name? Eric Klinenberg, they look at how people meet each other in the modern age, which this book came out in 2015. I said this a lot in my video. It's very dated, but interesting to look at how relationships have evolved with the emergence of technology and social media. So yeah, some things I learned from it, but ultimately I think I gave it a 3 or 3.5. Aziz Ansari is just really funny, and some of the things he wrote / spoke, because I listened to this, were really fun, but yeah, ultimately not one I will keep or think about very often. Now we're getting to the reds. I didn't have any pink. Yeah, no pink this month, but we're getting to a red. And this is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book. It was just delightful. This is about 4 friends who get together on Thursdays in their retirement community. They are all in their 70s or 80s, and they try to solve murders together. One of them is a retired private investigator or special agent or something, and she has access to cold cases that haven't ever been solved, and she decides she wants to try to solve them with her friends. When 2 people wind up dead, either at their retirement facility or related to the people who work at the retirement facility, the Thursday Murder Club decides that they are going to solve these murders themselves. It is just so fun and so sweet. I loved it. I loved how it was written. It was kind of quirky. Actually, one of my friends said it kind of reminded them of Frederick Bachman in Anxious People, which I kind of agree with how the characters are written. I cannot wait to continue on in this series. I gave it 5 stars. I have a book, a red book, that is representing Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This was one I just wanted to listen to on a whim. It was available on Everand, and I decided to give it a go. In this one, we are following, why can't I think of her name? A young woman who 5 years ago was the only witness and therefore likely the murderer of her best friend in her hometown in Texas. She was never found guilty because there just wasn't enough evidence, and she had this amnesia. She couldn't remember what happened that night, just that she had a lot of blood all over her and a head wound. Couldn't remember what was going on. So now, 5 years later, there is a podcaster named Ben, and he has this podcast, Listen for the Lie, where he takes crimes and tries to solve them. Very similar to like Serial or In the Dark, both podcasts that I have listened to and really enjoyed. And so that is one aspect I loved about this book. The audiobook made it seem like you were listening to a podcast. There was music every time a podcast episode came on. It was really fun. I think I love books where the main character has amnesia and they are figuring out along with you what happened. When memories come back, it's just so thrilling. I was thrown off at every turn. I didn't know who was the murderer, but it was really fun. And Ben and, why can't I think of her name? Someone, they figured it out together, and it was really good. Loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. Next up, we have A Red into Orange, a beautiful book with The Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was a patron pick for me this month. My patron Jane chose this one for me to read, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is a YA, which, why did this YA work for me? I don't know. I think maybe older YA is good, because this, our main character, what's her name? Imani, she is graduating high school, or in her senior year of high school, but has a lot of adult aspects of her life. She has a daughter. She is taking care of her grandmother. She has a job, all while trying to be a senior in high school and do well in school. She has always had a love of food and cooking, and so when her high school offers a culinary class, she takes it. The class is having an immersion experience in Spain, and so she is trying to save money for that. Just a really great story about a girl trying to do what she wants in life, but also trying to take care of the responsibilities that she has. So I really loved this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved listening to it because Elizabeth Acevedo herself read it. And yeah, it was a really great story. Next, we've got an orange book. Mostly orange. This Close to Okay by Lisa Cross Smith. This is I think my very first book of the month I ever got. December of 2020. What a dark time. Anyway, this is a contemporary of sorts. We have our 2 main characters. Emmett, I want to say? Yep. Emmett and Tally. So Tally is driving along one day when she sees Emmett on the side of the road about to jump off of a bridge. It's raining. She decides to get out of her car and stop him from doing this. She does. She takes him into his car. They go get coffee. Then she continues to take him back to her house and like try to figure out what's going on with him, why he came to this conclusion that he needed to jump off of a bridge. And they have a friendship, and a little bit more than a friendship. They were both keeping secrets from each other that I did not appreciate. Tally is a therapist, and so she was like kind of having like therapy sessions with Emmett, and Emmett has a very tragic past that we don't learn about until the very end, and like super sad as to why he got to this part in his life where he felt like he needed to end things. So there were some parts of this book I really liked, but then others that I had issues with. I talk about it more in depth in my Can I Read My Entire June TBR in 1 week? Which I did. Super proud of myself. But I think I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. We're on to our yellow books. So the first is The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocum. I also pulled this in my Read It or Not challenge. I read a lot of books that week. Anyway, this is a phenomenal contemporary mystery book where a Stradivarius violin goes missing, and in its place is a ransom note for $5 million. The person who owns the Stradivarius, Ray McMillian, came about having the violin from his grandmother, who got it from her grandfather, who got it from his owner when he was a slave. So there is questions as to who actually owns this violin? Is it the slave owner's family or is it Ray? So there's like trials about that. Like they go to court actually. Well, I'm not sure if they ever go to court, but Ray is being sued. Anyway, and the violin is missing. So they're trying to find the violin all while Ray is participating in a concerto competition of sorts. The Tchaikovsky competition, the Olympics of classical music. I just found this one so fun and thrilling. Did I call the ending? Yes, as to who stole the violin, but that didn't take away any of the aspects of the story, the thrilling parts of the story. Racism is a huge theme in this book. Ray is a black man playing classical music. He is making his way in this avenue of music, and it's just unfortunate the way he is treated by a lot of people. So that was a huge theme and one that was really important. I was reading this while I went and saw a Juneteenth celebration at the Minnesota Orchestra Hall, which was really awesome to see Black artists lifted up. And this was just perfect to read at that time. So super good book. Gave it 5 stars. Another yellow book that I gave 5 stars. Do I give yellow books 5 stars? Yellow is my favorite color. Maybe. That just, the sunny disposition of the books makes me love them. Anyway, this is Laundry Love, Finding Joy in a Common Chore by Patrick Richardson with Karen B. Miller. This is a nonfiction about how to do laundry. And it was a goal of mine in 2024 to try to learn to love laundry a little bit because it is my least favorite chore to do. After reading this book, I'm happy to announce that I actually enjoy doing laundry now. Who am I? I don't know. But the way Patrick Richardson tells you about his love for laundry, it just makes you feel the love for your clothes and your textiles. He calls them textiles. He just tells you from beginning to end how to do your laundry, how to sort, how to wash, what kind of supplies you need, how to dry, how to get every single stain out. Like there is an A to Z list of stains all the way from, let's see, what does the A? Avocado, all the way to, is there anything with Z? Probably not, but watermelon. So, I mean, there's sweet and sour sauce, tea, tar, road salt, rust, soy sauce, grass, gravy, like how to get every single stain out. And I have done some of his suggestions and they work. I'm impressed. This is going to go in my laundry room, so whenever I need to remove a stain off of my children's dirty clothes, I will know what to do. Yeah. I want to make my laundry room like a haven. He suggests you get a disco ball in your laundry room. I don't know if I'll go that far, but the one anecdote he says is taking care of your laundry is really taking care of the people who wear the clothes. So think of it as an act of love toward those people, which helps me realize why I'm doing the laundry and the chore in the first place. So super good. If you're looking for tips and tricks on how to do laundry, get stains out, definitely read this book. Moving on to like a greeny blue. We have a poetry collection by Clint Smith. This is Above Ground. I originally picked this in my deck of TBR game, but then had to swap it out and people were like, you should still read it anyway. I was like, yeah, I should. It's so short, so I did. This poetry collection focuses a lot on parenthood, and there are some that I absolutely loved. The ones that I have marked on top, I don't know if you can see that, are the poems that I loved in general, and then I have some things marked on the right of just lines that I wanted to write in my reading journal. I don't know. Can I read one to you? Should I read one to you? Oh, this one on tradition. His family makes French toast every Sunday. My family makes pancakes every Sunday. And I love that the tradition isn't in the result. It's in the process of the tradition, which I love. Here he says, the end products aren't exactly the same. I don't use all the same ingredients. Sometimes I make substitutions. Sometimes I burn the bread. Sometimes he did too. That was about his grandfather, I think. But I try to remind myself that all these years later, I don't remember what the bread tasted like, just that my father had put it on my plate. So it was about his father, not grandfather. But I hope that's what my children think of when we have our pancake tradition. I don't know. It's just, there was such sweet things. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Poetry is hard for me. Some of it goes over my head. But as I went, I was starting to understand his writing style a bit more, and loved what he had to say about being a parent. Sometimes it's difficult, but also pretty beautiful. Then, switching gears, but still with a blue book, we've got A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is her little 3.5 novella in the ACOFAS series. It was like the Christmas special. They were celebrating the winter solstice. There's a lot of gift giving, a lot of rebuilding after the huge battle that took place in A Court of Wings and Ruin, and just more relationship building between Feyre and her clan. Did I need to read it? No. Was it kind of enjoyable? Yes. I gave it 3 stars. Another blue book, A Woman Is No Man by Etaf Room. I talked about this one at length in my Read It or Not special edition challenge in June. I did a lot of Read It or Nots this month, or last month. This one I gave 4.5 stars. We follow 2 different women and in 2 different timelines. Ezra is in 1990 Palestine, and she is married off to a man who lives in the US, so she moves to the US and has to start a new life there. And then we're following her daughter, Dea, in 2008, who is trying to be her own person, decides she wants to go to college instead of get married, and that is very difficult for her grandmother to understand. This is just the power of womanhood and what women can and can't do, especially in the cultures that they are raised in. Really impactful. Holy smokes, the end made me cry. But for some reason, I only gave it 4.5. I don't know. I might have to revisit my vlog and see why I did. But still, super great story, and one I would recommend that you should read. We are transitioning kind of blue to darker colors. Next we have Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. This is a very quiet, apocalyptic story. Nothing happens in this book, but the world is ending, maybe? We don't know. A family is on vacation at like an Airbnb kind of thing when they hear a knock on the door. The owners of the Airbnb show up and say, there's a power outage on the whole East Coast. We need to stay here. Weird things happen, like natural things, like deer, lots of deer show up, birds start falling from the sky, people get sick. But then in the end, we're really nowhere different than where we were at the beginning. I didn't get it. I talk about it more in my vlog where I read my entire TBR in 1 week, and I only gave it a 2. Not for me. Too slow. Nothing happened. I needed more. This book, this blue-green book, represents this blue-green book, One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. I also read a different Ruth Ware in this month, which I'll show you in a second, but I wanted to read her most recent because I heard it was a mashup between Survivor and Love Island, and those are my 2 all-time favorite reality shows. In this book, a couple goes on to a new TV show called One Perfect Couple. They are sent to an isolated island and must prove that they are a good couple for each other, and then they'll win the game show. They get to this island and a huge storm hits the island and they can't communicate with anyone. People start dying. It's kind of like an And Then There Were None retelling. It was fun. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars because they kind of tell you who the killer is like halfway through the book, and like nothing changes. I thought there was going to be more twists and turns, but it's like, yep, that's it. So I didn't really like that. I wanted there to be more of a crazy ending at the conclusion of the book, but there wasn't. So it was still fun though, a really fun time. And I honestly wish that there would have been more of the reality show at the beginning where they're like doing the compatibility stuff, because I was totally there for that. I loved it. But still really fun. 4 stars. The next book is a 5-star. We've got The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. This is a historical fiction about a woman named Margaret Ballard in the late 1800s. She was, 1700s, my bad. She was a midwife in Maine, and it's based off of a real person, which is awesome. Ariel Lawhon does great research in her historical fiction books. Codename Helene is one that I can think of. Anyway, Martha Ballard is the midwife, so she is called to all of the births around her. But she's also like one of the only medically trained people in the area, and so she is called to be a coroner sometimes. And when a man is found frozen in the river, she has to take a look at his body and see what his cause of death was. She rules something, and then a new doctor in town rules something else, and yeah, there's a whole lot of drama that happens after that, and because of that. Let's see. There's also a woman who was possibly raped by the man who was found dead. So there is just, it's a lot of drama and a lot of things that this poor Martha Ballard has to go through. She has a great family and a great husband supporting her throughout this. But what a phenomenal woman and story. The things she did just to get babies into this world. She didn't lose one baby in her entire tenure as a midwife, which is amazing because that doesn't happen nowadays even. And so for that to happen in 1789, pretty nuts. But then also just what she had to go through to get people to believe her. Like, she couldn't testify in court without her husband being there, which is just annoying. Anyway, loved this story. I gave it 5 stars. I read it in my Read It or Not new book edition, and super glad I got to it. I maybe would have waited for a wintry time, given that the cover is so wintry, but it was fun to read in June too. 2 more left, people. We're doing it. This next is also a 5-star and a recommendation from one of my patrons, Sarah. Thank you so much for this recommendation because this book was absolutely beautiful. It's A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is the first in a duology. I'm not sure if it's going to be more, but it is about a tea monk who decides to go off on a journey to find themselves. They meet a robot in the wilderness, and this tea monk and robot learn about life from each other. I cried during this book because it is the robot telling the tea monk that they are worthy no matter what. The fact that you are here means that you are living your life the way you need to, and it's just what I needed to hear at that moment. Really beautiful. I thought I wasn't gonna like this because it's sci-fi, kind of, but it is a very cozy sci-fi. More so just an adventure between these 2 people and learning about what it means to be human and here on this earth. If you want to hear more extensive thoughts and the quote that made me cry, go check out my entire TBR in 1 week. Sorry, I did a lot of vlogging in June, and I don't want to repeat too much of what I've said in other videos. Lastly, my Patreon buddy read book club pick for June was In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I really like Ruth Ware as an author, especially her isolated settings. I feel like that really works for me. This also had the amnesia factor, similar to Listen for the Lie, where our main character doesn't remember what happened because she got a smack on the head, and we're remembering with her in a series of flashbacks. Should I tell you what this is about? Sure. A woman, can't remember her name. Claire? No. Yeah. No. Nora. Or Leah. She had multiple names. Lee, or Leonora, or Nora. Anyway, she was invited to her friend's hen party or bachelorette party, but this friend, they haven't been in touch for like 10 years. She decides to go because she thinks, why not? Maybe there could be a reconciliation between the friends. And she realizes that her best friend is getting married to her first love. And that's really awkward and uncomfortable. And then someone winds up dead. The whole time you think it might be Lee or Nora who is responsible for this death because there are clues leading us to that, but it's not. And did I guess who the murderer was in this book too? Yes. But I still had a fun, thrilling time, so I gave it 4 stars. I'm excited to talk about this one with my patrons coming up here this week. If you are ever interested in joining my Patreon, the link is always listed down below in my description box. Anyway, can I lift up this stack? I made it upside down. My pretty rainbow stack next to my pretty rainbow shirt. There they go. No, 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 no. There's a lot of library books in here, so they're slippery. I think I got it. I got it. I got it. Ta-da! Da-da-da-da-da-da! A beautiful stack of books and some really awesome stories that I consumed this month. Have you read any of these books? Let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below. It'd be great to have some discussion with you, as always. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in another one very soon. Bye.